You can applaud. Well, it's great to be here. Incredible to see the turnout in Lithuania. I get the privilege of seeing Bitcoin and blockchain conferences all over the world. I'm just curious, how many of you are not from Lithuania? Can you raise your hands? Okay, wow. So that means there's a huge contingent that is based here. How many of you are living in Vilnius or close by? Wow, okay, incredible. All right. Well, I think we're just working to get the presentation up here. But let me just say, 2 years ago, actually more like 3 years ago, we began this meetup group in London. It was almost like a therapy group, and we called it Bitcoin Mondays. And it was basically a bunch of guys that were working on blockchain and Bitcoin, and they came together to sort of talk about the technology and also talk about how crazy everybody else was that they weren't getting involved in it. And a lot of the people within my own organization and other big organizations like mine were saying, this is a fad, this is a little thing, it'll come up and then it'll go down. And but now we have the emergence of many new technologies based on blockchain, not the least of which is Ethereum. How many of you have Ether? Anybody here with Ether? Okay, cool. Anybody buy it below $5? Okay, you're buying drinks tonight. All right, great. Okay, that's fantastic. So we really have had an incredible sort of progression of what's happening in blockchain. So 325 years ago, everybody was trying to figure out what to do with capital, right? There weren't any formal banks. There were sort of informal ways of leveraging capital. And we began to create instruments. And these instruments allowed us to take this very precious, valuable resource and leverage it and aggregate it and then begin to use it to grow businesses, create growth. And this led us all the way through, the agricultural era, the industrial era, and all the way to the present modern day financial services era. But something dramatic has happened. The world has now woken up to the idea that there's actually something more valuable than financial capital, something that can actually challenge the idea that he who holds the financial capital in the world holds power, right? And that simple idea, in a very basic word, is innovation. But it's technology and innovation. It's human intellectual capital. And it's that human and intellectual capital that created blockchain. And really, blockchain is the world's next general purpose technology. It's, it was preceded by the internet. And prior to the internet, we had railroads and other general purpose technologies. But now blockchain is becoming a general purpose technology with application across basically every industry. And the combination of blockchain and smart contracts really opens up a whole world of possibilities. And this means that financial services is going to go through a very big change where one day we're going to wake up and realize we're not actually financial services companies, we're tech companies. And we're not actually providing financial services, we're providing financial products. So in a world like Barclays, where we've been built on this idea that we have this relationship with our customer, and where that relationship is typically between two individuals. In the past, you could go into a branch of a bank and be able to say hello to the teller, and they'd know your name, and they'd know your children's names, and you'd have a relationship, right? Well, that same value doesn't exist today. And what does exist today is the simple idea that people want things done in a convenient way. They don't want to have to go through multiple parties, so they want disintermediation. They also want democratization. They want financial services that used to be only available to the wealthy, the rich, the powerful, the big corporates. They want those financial services available at their fingertips. And it used to require many devices, many physical things to get something done, and now it's just one. It's one simple device that you can hold in your hand, and the limit on the power of that device is simply information. It's the quality of the information that you can get and exchange on the device. Any luck with our slides there? Only PDF. Okay, that's fine. All right. So the transition then. The transition then is that you now have a scenario where you can actually build a bank from the ground up with about 5 people. And all you need to do, at least in London, all you need to do is raise £1 million. Did you know this? You can actually get a banking license with £1 million in London. It's incredible. So has anyone heard of Mondo Bank? M-O-N-D-O? Just started. Mondo was a bank. It was a startup basically that was based in one of the sites that we helped to develop with a partner called Central Working. And in another one of our locations, there was a team called Crowdcube. And Crowdcube is a crowdfunding platform. And Mondo Bank came to Crowdcube, and they did a crowd raise. And in 96 seconds, they raised £1 million. So in 96 seconds, they started a bank. And on their opening day, they actually raised, I think, £6 million in that raise. But on their opening day, when they first allowed people to sign up, they had 60,000 new customers on day one. And when I arrived in London, I'm based in New York, when I arrived in London 2 days ago, my team, who work at Barclays, were all excited to show me their Mondo cards. So, you know, there's a huge change happening, which is that trust in the banking system is no longer, at least for my generation and probably down, is no longer about the marble pillars and the beautiful floors and the well-pressed suits. It's actually about the quality of the experience on the mobile device. And so when you think of trust in banking, you know, people don't look at big banks like Barclays in the same way that they used to. They want simple, you know, convenient, customer-friendly experience. This leads us to a point where we now need to figure out how we respond. How is it that Barclays is going to respond to this incredible shift in the market? Beautiful. Thank you. And can I switch it with this? Oh, let's see. Ah, okay, we're there. Okay, so this was Barclays in the past, right? Amazing. And this is the way Barclays is going to be built now, in the future. And in order to do that, we have created Rise. So Rise is a global community of thinkers, doers, entrepreneurs, the top fintech startups in the world, engaging with us and with other financial players to build the future of our industry. And this is not going to work, is it? Okay, we'll have to send out YouTube videos or something so you can see the videos, because the videos were intended to boost the quality of my presentation. So you're going to have to pretend that it's a high-quality presentation, and then we'll just get on with it. All right. So we have Rise London. Oh, come on now. We got Rise Manchester. We have Rise New York. Oh, by the way, we started Rise Rise as a brand officially launched in July. So we've been quite busy. Now, we had a previous model called the Escalator, which was in London, and that was about 2 years ago. So we've been sort of running around the world trying to pull together these fintech ecosystems. Cape Town, where not too long ago I sat in a room about this size with about this number of people in Cape Town, and I was blown away. I was blown away by the quality of thought and the depth of knowledge in blockchain, and it was incredible. I mean, of course, in Africa, 90% of the population don't have access to basic financial services. So it really is one of those technologies that could completely change the social fabric of Africa. Imagine if we had a transparent system for commerce in Africa where you could actually see if fraud was occurring because it was transparent. I mean, imagine if citizens had access to currencies that weren't controlled by corrupt government officials. There's incredible impact that could come to really the whole world, but in particular Africa. We just opened Rise Tel Aviv on Monday, this last Monday. Wait, what is today? Friday? This Monday, we opened Rise Tel Aviv. incredible place for cybersecurity, smart contracts, a lot of bright people working in blockchain as well. And of course, we're very excited. And we have we have theaters. We have in each of these locations we have incredible, beautiful workspace. We also have great places to hang out and ideally good food and coffee. And of course, we're very excited to be opening Rise Vilnius. And I do want to recognize that Rise Vilnius wasn't some decision that was made, you know, in a high tower in London. It was really a swell of enthusiasm and support from a few individuals and teams within Barclays, believe it or not, that wanted it to come here, including this gentleman right here. Can you raise your hand, Darius? This guy right here in the hoodie. And I don't think it's insignificant at all that after London and New York and Vilnius, London and New York and Tel Aviv, which are, you know, impressive fintech innovation capitals, I think it's very fitting that we're here in Vilnius. We're interested in a number of things here, blockchain being one of the highest, but we're also interested in looking at how we can gamify financial services. We're very interested in machine learning and AI. We're really interested, believe it or not, in VR and AR, and looking at how virtual reality and augmented reality can actually influence decision-making in financial services. So there's a number of verticals and areas, technical areas that we're interested in. And quite frankly, the reason that we do this, I should mention, we also have a website and we have an app called Rise Connect. And very importantly, we have a podcast. So if you haven't downloaded our podcast on the iTunes podcast store or on SoundCloud, it's a really cool podcast, demystifying fintech. We've already had a few great blockchain companies speak on the podcast. And really Rise is about bringing people together for that important conversation where they can talk about how you take a big organization like Barclays with tremendous scale, 50 million customers throughout the world, and you bring great developer talent, great innovation to Barclays. This is actually our group CEO in Rise New York having chat with one of the developers. So we're very serious about what we're doing here. So this is our business model in a very simple format. So what we do is we take the challenges, the opportunities, the scale of Barclays, and we pair that with opportunities that we're seeing from more than 20,000 startups around the world. Now I want to mention that we have about 145 blockchain companies that are a part of the Rise network. And we then bring them into a process where either through an accelerator program, an incubator, a hackathon, we curate innovation, we connect the right people, we co-create potentially new products or services, or we just procure that product or service, or we joint venture to create something entirely new, and then we scale it to the market. And last year, we did 88 innovation projects, and we signed 55 contracts with startups, which for Barclays was a huge deal. And it represents millions and millions of pounds of investment. And we engaged with more than 40,000 individuals, including 6,300 Barclays colleagues, primarily from the tech side of our business, that we're engaging with startups. So it's got serious momentum behind it. We are now looking at how we continue to scale this up. Hopefully we'll see further investment. We want to become the place, the community. Rise needs to become the community that can scale the next unicorns in fintech. That's our goal. That's our ambition. I will say that of those 55 contracts, 88 projects, we had roughly 40 experiments that varied in their level of sort of depth and breadth, but 45 specific projects in blockchain, right? So it is a very high focus for us. And we have a whole team of people that are dedicated just to blockchain. I think we have some of the smartest people in the world. Has anyone heard of Simon Taylor? Has that name come up to anyone? No? Okay, I'm going to tell him he's not as popular as he thinks he is. You know Simon? Okay, very good. One guy. All right, I'm going back to Simon with that one. So of those deals, just so you kind of know what the deal flow looks like for us, we did about 60% of our deals were with companies that provided some efficiency. So they somehow dramatically reduced the cost of some crazy process that we have within Barclays. And let me just tell you, there's a lot of them. So if you get into Barclays and kind of come into Rise and get working with Darius and team, you're going to find there's a lot of opportunity to make an impact in efficiency. We also had about 35% of our deals were deals that were enhancing existing products or services. And about 5% of our deals were disruptive. And by disruptive, I mean they opened entirely new markets to us. One of those deals was actually Chainalysis. Has anyone heard of Chainalysis? Jonathan Levin? Okay, a few people here. So Chainalysis is now formally working with Barclays, and you may have seen in the news that we have just begun banking, as the first bank in the UK, banking Bitcoin companies. So we're the first bank to begin offering full-blown corporate accounts to Bitcoin companies, and we're able to do that because of Chainalysis. So Jonathan Levin actually got a DPhil at Oxford in cryptocurrencies. Amazingly enough, that he was just right at the forefront of the trend and of the sort of the build in momentum. We are looking very closely, and we really want to find those companies that are really going to be disruptive. And by disruptive, I mean they will cause the incumbent players to flee to higher margins, more profitable players. So what ends up happening is when a disruptive player comes in, the incumbent says, you know what, they can take those small margins down there. They can start to play in the bottom of our market. What we're going to do is we're going to sell better products to our best customers for better margins. And what ends up happening is they end up pushing themselves all the way up the chain until at some point they're gone, right? And what we want to do is we want to partner with those companies. I'd say, TransferWise was in some ways a disruptive company, et cetera. And we want to partner with those folks that are going to be working to address non-consumption. Another good example would be Goldbean. Goldbean is a wealth investment app, and it allows high school students and workers with only £1,000 in their account to have access to wealth advisement services and to actually begin to build a wealth investment strategy and portfolio. That's something that Barclays at the moment, we don't do. We have a wealth investment strategy for high net worth individuals, but not necessarily for high schoolers. All right. This is Clayton Christensen. He wrote a book called The Innovator's Dilemma. If you haven't read it, you have to. It's an amazing book. And he's a Harvard Business School professor. Forbes ranks him one of the most valuable thinkers of our time. He came up with the framework of disruptive innovation. And if you want to go to investmentbank.barclays.com, on the front page, the homepage of our investment bank website right now, is a video with Clayton who's discussing disruption in financial services. This is our model for innovation. We take collaboration at the very basic level. So we run a lot of events. So in Rise New York, for example, we run 40 events a month. In London, we're running about 30 events a month. I mean, an incredible flow of events. And we take these events, and through these events, we begin to identify the key players, the people that are leading the conversation. And then we take those players and we begin to have a conversation about what business models could be developed out of that particular technology that they're discussing that could be applied to our business. We then begin to build prototypes. The prototypes are tested. If we believe they're valid, then we move on to proof of concept, where we actually test it with a number of Barclays colleagues, and usually under a scenario which would be sort of within our systems, et cetera. And then if it's successful, we pilot it with a small group of players on our platform, and then ultimately we scale it to the market. So that's our model. That's what we're trying to achieve. And we have done some of the largest open innovation events in the world. So in Mumbai, for example, we had over 400 developers show up for a hackathon. We produced more than 40 prototypes, fully tested prototypes. We had more than 150 Barclays technology colleagues join in. And we actually had 8 million Twitter impressions, and that was a record for Barclays, all-time record. And we did that all in under all in under 36 hours. So pretty impressive. This at the top there, that picture is actually the blockchain conference that we helped to host in Cape Town. We also had one in Johannesburg. This right here is a group of young women who are helping to code and develop a new model around savings accounts for young women. Isn't that cool? They're called the STEMettes in London. At the top there, you had a college group that began to develop apps around connecting college students around financial services. And this was a big event that we had in New York. All of this happened in like 4 days in Rise. So across the world, there are constant conversations, there are constant events, there are constant projects being developed. And I will send this video on to you. And just imagine me coming out and looking even cooler after this video. All right. The Barclays Accelerator is by far our most successful open innovation initiative. And we have had, how many of you have heard of Barclays Accelerator? Has anyone heard of? Okay, all right, great. A few of you, great. We have had over 2,000 companies apply from over 90 countries, including some from Lithuania. And we have had only 40 companies have been selected, and we've done over 30 deals with those 40 companies. So, and that's all happened in under 2 years. The average growth rate of a company in our program is over a 3-month period is 160%. So the average company comes in usually with their seed round or pre-seed round having been completed, 500,000, some cases $1 million, and they usually exit with around a round of about 2 million to 3 million, sometimes up to 5 million is the round that they raise after coming out of the program. We had over 400 investors show up to our last demo day in New York City, and just like you, they were lucky to get a seat, and we kept reminding them of that. So it's wonderful to see the flow of capital into fintech. I believe we're sitting at something like 49 billion that has been invested in fintech globally since 2010. And my understanding is that in the US, that is a year-over-year increase of 56%. So every year, 56% more from the year prior is being invested into fintech. Incredible momentum. Another video. All right, so Rise Vilnius. So what we want to accomplish here is we want to bring together the best and brightest minds working in financial services from both the Barclays side as well as the startup side. And we're going to be having a variety of initiatives, programs, projects. We're going to be bringing our challenges to Lithuania, and we're going to be asking you to figure out how we can solve some things together. And we're also going to hope that you're going to bring some thoughts and ideas, and particularly business models. And if you're full-on business with revenues, that's great. We want to see you. We typically engage with companies that are about under 200 employees. That's generally our model. And that could be one person, and it could be 200 people. So, it's not too specific. So Vilnius now joins a global network, which will continue to expand. And part of this network allows you access to both an investor network and a mentor network that sits completely outside of Vilnius in all of these other markets. So we'll be connecting you with investors from all of our markets, as well as giving you the chance to engage with experts and mentors from different markets. So that's Rise Vilnius, and we're very excited. We believe this is the future of financial services. We believe it's the future of Barclays, and so welcome to Rise.